Osteopenia, there's several different factors that will contribute to that. It's always important to find out which one it is. It's always a relationship between pulling minerals out of your bone and putting them back in, because we're constantly rebuilding our bone. Over a few years, 6, 7 years, you'll completely redo your entire bone structure, because we're constantly rebuilding it. Vitamin D has a lot to do with that. Mineral deficiencies have a lot to do with that. Hormone deficiencies have a lot to do with that. Low estrogen in women, that's a classic problem with osteopenia or osteoporosis. High protein diet or high fats. You know the Atkins diet? It makes you lose weight, but it also makes you lose bone minerals too, because it's such an acidic diet that you're going to have to pull all the minerals from your bones to alkalinize those acids. And therefore, it's pulling more minerals out of where your minerals are most abundant to be able to do the trick. People who smoke or drink. Who thought smoking is going to demineralize your bones? But it does. Hair, bone, skin, and teeth. You ever see people who smoke? They get really bad wrinkles right away. I've got a good friend I just hooked up with ever since high school. And he's been smoking ever since high school. Well, he looks like he's about 70. And that's just because of what smoking's done to his hair, bone, skin, and teeth. Alcohol use, the same thing. How much is good? What's a good level of alcohol to drink that's healthy?
0.
0. 0. Who says it's okay to drink a glass of wine with every meal? The wine industry, right?
Yeah.
They sell more wine. Is it good? I mean, the French drink a bottle of wine per dinner, right? Right? They'll have a glass with every dinner. Well, not every dinner, but it's still not good for you. But if it relaxes them, calms them in a social situation, and it makes them feel better, that has its benefits too. But alcohol itself, once it hits the tissue, your small intestines will kill the tissue. It kills all the tissue in the small intestines right on contact. If you feel a buzz from it, like you're starting to feel a little loopy, right away you know you're killing cerebellar cells, right? If it changes your mood, makes you all happy, well, you know it's hitting your frontal lobe. If it makes you really upset, you know it's hitting your whole cortex, and now the midbrain is fired up. Lack of exercise. What's important about exercise? Oxygen.
It stresses the bones.
Stresses the bones. That's good for. That's the biggest thing for these two things.
Yeah,
what's the most important thing?
It de-stresses you, and in which case then you're not throwing the hormones into your bloodstream.
Why would exercise de-stress your brain?
Oxygen.
Oxygen's one of them. But the most important thing about exercise for everybody is that it bombards your brain with activity, with nerve activity. When your brain gets a ton of activity, you'll have a calming sensation because it's firing up your cortex, which in turn is winding down your midbrain. When we're amped up and freaked out about something, that's your midbrain without enough inhibition. You exercise, your cortex fires up, and it calms that whole thing. Does that make sense? And that's why exercise feels so good for a lot of people. And then medications, which is not discussed a lot. There's a ton of medications out there that will demineralize your bones faster than anything. Corticosteroids are one of them. So if you have an autoimmune disease and you're on steroid therapy, where you've got a cortisone shot in your shoulder, that's the first thing that's going to demineralize the bones the most. So if you have general malaise, that means you just feel like crap. Muscle and joint aches, nausea, liver tenderness, or jaundice. Jaundice is when you get that yellowish color to your eyes and your skin. Swelling in the extremities, that's usually liver antibodies. I'll do it for you. Fatigue after meals, again, that's a sugar problem. Weight gain or weight loss, frequent urination, frequent thirst, increased appetite. This is actually what you'll see in diabetes, and that's because of pancreatic autoimmunity. It can give you type 1 diabetes. Now, here's a good one. I like this one because I see a lot of this, and I see it all too much. And this is the one that you want to get quick. If you have positive neurologic antibodies, GAD myelin, isogangliosides, alpha-beta-tubulin, cerebellar, synapsin, and more, that's a problem. Because when I talked about you had one part of your immune system that flags and the other part kills, In the brain, it's different. The same cells that flag are the cells that kill. So it's an exponential rate of loss of neurons when you have an autoimmunity of the brain. Who do I find this with? I find this with autistic kids, some ADHD kids. I find this with people who have chronic brain fog, especially their brain fog after eating. I have this in people that are developing a PTSD, and it's not changing at all. They're doing meditation, they're seeing a therapist, and they're still getting worse and worse and worse. I see this in psychiatric disorders. I see this in people who just are just having memory problems or cognitive problems. So, gosh, I'm forgetting what I was supposed to say right now. It's my words are a little staggered, and I'm not getting everything out like I want to. I see people going through these things. Dementia is, say you're 78 years old. Should you have memory problems? Should you forget where your keys are, where you parked the car?
Not necessarily.
That's not normal. It's not normal at all. And what's important is that you should have a good brain intact until the day you die. That's normal. But we sort of accept, oh, I'm having a senior moment. That's nonsense. There's a problem there. And that problem should be addressed. So a lot of times we'll also have to evaluate sensory perception. We'll have to evaluate all the senses. The sensation of touch, light touch, and pinprick, eyes, ears, the sensations that we have from spatial awareness. We need balance, especially in cerebellar issues. Not just balance where you're, oh, look, I can do this, I must be fine. It's balance in different positions, balance in different head positions. Strength, hearing, visual fields. Visual fields tell us a lot about what's happening with brain function. Bladder and bowel tone. These are real important ones. Cognitive function, slow processing, poor memory, and depression. I can't tell you how many times I see people who are in depression where we can see that there's a problem with their frontal lobe on fire. And when we extinguish that, the depression gets better. These are people that are medicated or even not medicated. Smell, taste, tremors. Tremors are really easy to find. In fact, would you demonstrate something for us?
Sure.
Can you stand up? I won't put you on the spot too bad here. This is a good demonstration of a type of tremor. I hope we find it. It might be fixed. Might be fixed. Okay, go ahead and hold your hands out as far as you can, just like this. And here, I'll take this down in case you flatten it. Okay, good. And I want you to close your eyes. Keep your feet separated so you don't fall. Good. And I want you to take your index finger and slowly bring it over to your nose.
Both?
Just one. Slowly bring it over to your nose. There you go. Good. And that's actually really good. That's actually really, now take that one back, and now bring the other one over, but a little faster. You're actually doing really, really good. What you probably couldn't see there is that she has a ending tremor. So when her finger comes right up to here, her finger starts quaking a little bit. And she's really good. She was really bad one time, but we took care of that, fortunately.
Gotten much better.
I thought you might have been bad tonight too, but that was good. So what we see is do something simple. A simple test like this. People will come up, take their finger or their eyes closed, and their hand will quake right at the end. We know that's a cerebellar problem. So a variety of tests like that are going to tell us a lot about what's happening with the brain. And besides having positive antibodies and fixing the immune system, you have to be able to come back and fix the brain. Does that make sense? So again, finding out how you're going to fix that nerve pathway, like we did here with Jane, who doesn't have that problem anymore. I don't know why I thought you were.
Yeah, well.
Sorry for picking you out of the crowd.
No, that's okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead. Okay, so the past 50 years, celiac disease. You know what celiac disease is?
It's
Okay.
really bad gluten stuff that attacks the body and can kill it.
It's an autoimmune disease to the lining of your stomach or lining of your small intestines. And what it does, it keeps you from absorbing foods. It creates a lot of inflammation, especially in your lymphatic tissue there. Over the past 50 years, it went from 1 in 700 to 1 in 100. Don't you think it's quite a jump?
Yes.
Part of the reason, if you go to any of my gluten lectures, you'll notice too that our grains are no longer the same grains that we've had 50 years ago. So here we are the past 50 years. 50 years ago, our grains were completely different. They are hybridized now, they're genetically modified, and they're very strong grains, so we don't digest them well. If we can't digest them, then we tend to absorb those undigested proteins, and that's how we start that food allergy, right? Like I was saying earlier. So let's go ahead and we'll skip this part. I gotta get moving here. How are we doing on time, by the way?
What kind of foods
5 of 8.
have been changed? You said eat more raw vegetables and stuff. Have they changed, or is it just?
That's a good question. Vegetables have changed too. A lot of them have been genetically modified as well, but not nearly as much. And plus, the protein integrity of those vegetables hasn't changed as equally as the grains. The grains that have been changed the most are wheat, soy, and corn. Most of the allergies that we find are in wheat, but corn and soy are ones that follow pretty good here. The